My Agile story started in 2007, February, with Toyota Motor Sales in Torrance. The dealer financial system had been flagged in an audit, and Larry Ditzler, I believe, was the national sales manager or dealer manager, and Russ Stevenson and Melody Marquez were on the IT side. They assembled a really good technical team. They were very careful and the people that they did pick. I was fortunate to be among them. Um, the biggest agile aspect of this project was the co-location and co-ownership of the product with the business team and the development team. Never been a part of anything like that before or since, and really love to do it again. Um, but Larry's team was there every day. We argued, we fought, we got along. And the cool thing about that, the Agile Manifesto, right? It's individuals and interactions, right? The processes and tools, well, sure, you have to have the skills and you have to understand what your product is, which is so important with having the business involved and owning the product. But yeah, those interpersonal relationships, collaboration, you know, and uh, co-ownership of the product. But that was the biggest, most important aspect of that project. And they put us in a really cool room next to where I think there's a big secret building at uh, Toyota in Torrance where they would take apart cars. And we never went over there. But anyway, we had our own floor in a building, and it was really cool. And we had snacks and da da da. And Larry made everybody feel special and important. I mean, he was paying the bills, but the empowerment and ownership and consensus, decisions made by consensus. It was so important, right? And we not only worked hard together, we play hard together. We went sailing. We'd have events, off campus, and we really became like a little family, which I think is kind of the way it should be, right? And it all starts with that honest assessment of what you need, who you are, what your skills are. And that, is very core to what we did there, right? From the get-go, we had extensive, exhaustive, day after day work breakdown sessions where we clearly understood the problem and the product and the business would correct us or owned it. They owned it. When it was said and done, it was their product. They watched us build it. They participated in it from the very beginning. It was a very successful project. Southeast States Toyota bought on to it later, and that was cool. And August 2008 happened, and I was hoping for a job permit with Toyota, but that didn't happen. So WellPoint hired me. I went up to Woodland Hills, and as a consultant, same firm, and they hired me mainly because of this agile project that we'd done. And it wasn't a full-blown agile project. We didn't do most of the ceremonies and we didn't do Kanban charts and stuff, but we followed the Agile Manifesto, right? We valued individuals and interactions over processes and tools. We responded to change from day one, because we didn't go in there with a clear idea of what it was, and we had to continually groom what we knew from the business. We at some point you think you know everything about it, but you really don't. It just always evolves. Change is constant. So anyway, WellPoint had a capitation system they'd been working on for a couple of years, was kind of at an impasse, and mainly because of breakdown and confidence between IT and the business. In the same building, these people never saw each other. It was anyway. Yeah, it wasn't gonna be fixed with anything anybody could do at that point. A year later, uh, the system as defined by the requirements and specifications documents was complete, um, but the business refused it. Um, the piece that I developed, which was similar to what I'd done at Toyota, which was really cool, is that MQ Series Link scheduling system for web apps that want to schedule batch jobs on the mainframe. And WellPoint repurposed that many times. They hired me full time. And then they sent me to school to learn Rational Software Architect and the RUP suite. So that was really cool. And I spent about a year blueprinting the WGS claims and membership systems with Rational Software Architect, interviewing business and IT people from various domains, um, and assembled a really cool map blueprint, RSA uh, model of WGS. And we also at that time taught and transferred. I trained the WGS folks in Rec Pro and RQM and the RUP suite. But you could link Rational Software Architect to a requirement in Rec Pro and back and forth, and pretty cool product. It wasn't really suited for WellPoint because they're spread across the country, and it was abandoned in favor of something else eventually, which is fine. But at the same time, they started to do a lean transformation, so they trained me to be a lean IT champion, and I trained the WGS folks, got them all certified. And about this time, the service-oriented architecture group, the services group, the service brokers, they're gaining control of all the services, regardless of ownership, domain, level. And they borrowed me from WGS to do cost estimation and analysis and resource assignments for WGS services. Um, that was a work at home deal, so I went to Washington State, and maybe 2 years later, I think it was about 2014, 2015, um, I was transferred to the SOA group out of Mason, Ohio. I still worked at home, but under the management of the SOA group. So went back to school again and studied service-oriented architecture, became a service-oriented architect analyst. Um, and I love it. It's brilliant. It's why we can do the cloud, right? That rigid rules of interoperability, right? You build something that can be broken down, decomposed, and recomposed into something else because it's built with specific rules, right? And this blends so well into Agile in that um, you've got to have specific limitations and requirements as to what your product definition is, contains, what it's used for, how it uh, interacts with the rest of the enterprise, right? So the philosophy is real simple if you look at it like this. Treat your agile teams like teenagers, right? You've raised them up pretty good so far. You got talented people, you know they have skills, but you're not going to be able to tell them how to do it. They've got to figure that out for themselves. But you can't let them fail. So you have to have very clear, specific, rigid rules that are easily enforceable. Um, Governance is not an issue of auditing; it's an issue of habit and behavior. But the reality is, if you're an agile team, you're a product team that you agreed to a product with a business and you've been co-developing it, and you want to get on a product train in a domain or a technical genre or whatever, however you have your enterprise organized, you got to qualify to get on their product train. So the rules that it takes to get on the train, and then their specific, rules of deployment, and it, all successful, you deploy your product on the product train. If not, you'll have to reassess, find out, what you can do to improve, and all these things are scored. It's just dynamic and constant, right? So you write the documentation as you build the software, as you break the stories down into individual tasks, as you score them and determine, when you can do it, how it's going to get paid for. And I envision like a big marketplace, right? You got product owners, you got the Kanban charts of the trains and the products in progress and what their destinations are, what their enterprise and their activity is. Um, Scores, you've got teams ready to build. You got teams in builds. You got teams getting ready to roll off of builds. Do they want to build some more? Do they want to take a break, right? And they're scored. So on projects, either some have to be built, some are cool to have, some are old ugly technology. Ugh. You might have to pay more to get the old ugly technology done. You know, the thing is marketplace efficiency, and honest, transparent information, everything available in one place. It doesn't really matter what kind of requirements documentation you use. It matters what's in it, right? The specifics of the product definition, the specifics of who owns it, who's using it, how they're using it, appreciation and conformity with SOA principles of interoperability, those kinds of things. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's my Agile SOA philosophy.